Yeah. No, not now. I'm out of it.
You got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I will let myself go out now.
Gemini 4, Houston.
You know, Ed, this thing about the reference you were talking about looks like it's your right.
You don't even need one.
Gemini 4, Houston, Capcom.
Guys, this is Jim. What, got any message for us?
The flight director says get back in.
Okay.
One. Where are we over now, Jim?
I don't know. We're coming over to the west there, and they want you to come back in now.
Back in?
Back in.
Roger, we've been trying to talk to you for a while here.
Coming in.
You got about 4 minutes till Bermuda LOS.
History will record that Command Pilot McDivitt opened the hatch at 2:42 Eastern Standard Time. And a little after 3 o'clock along the eastern seaboard, Pilot White had opened up a new frontier for Americans to explore. In 21½ minutes, EVA was completed. Inside the spacecraft, the crew was faced with a problem. The hatch would not close. That day in St. Louis, when McDivitt took apart the locking mechanism, now paid off. The hatch finally closed. The cabin was repressurized, and the mission settled back into its 4-day cycle. The crew was busy stowing the extra equipment.
What do you think, Gus? He said he's busy and he'd rather not talk to us. Roger.
America settled back into its daily routine. TV and radio returned to their regular programs. News reporters and editors concentrated on other stories. Like their earthbound counterparts, the crew settled down to working, eating, sleeping. But most of us have not flown in orbit. It might seem that 2 men in space for 4 days have considerable time hanging over them. What is it like? Your basic job is that of a space test pilot. And like all test pilots, you must follow a careful routine. Each spacecraft system must be checked out on a planned schedule. You verify your readings with ground control. It goes like this.
Roger, give me the status. Can you give me your battery readouts, please? Roger, stand by, they're coming. Gemini 4, you can turn your radiator, correction, your secondary pump A off. Your evaporator to normal. Your radiator looks good. Roger, evaporator normal and secondary pump A off. Secondary looks good. Okay.
In the past, an astronaut stuck very close to the basic job of flying a mission, performing as many simple experiments as his flight plan permitted. But the 4 days of Gemini 4 gave Command Pilot McDivitt an opportunity to live in space and plan work on a scale impossible before. His flight plan included 11 onboard experiments. For convenience, they may be roughly divided into medical, measurement, and photographic categories. There were 3 medical experiments: in-flight exercise, in-flight phonocardiogram, and bone demineralization. The 5 measurement experiments included measurement of radiation, spacecraft exterior, radiation, spacecraft interior, measurement of the electrostatic charge accumulated on the spacecraft exterior, measurement of the direction and amplitude of the Earth's magnetic field, sextant-type measurements for navigation study. And finally, there were 3 photographic experiments: synoptic weather photography, synoptic terrain photography, Earth limb photography. All 11 experiments are important in increasing our knowledge of how man will live and work in space, but the photographic experiments are visually more interesting to us. As Gemini 4 swept over Africa, it looked down on the ancient Nile Delta from approximately 120 miles in space. In a single photograph, it caught a view that includes portions of 7 countries in which some 25 million people live. Experts identify Alexandria dead center screen at the bottom of the frame. This is Port Said, entrance to the Suez. Tel Aviv and the Dead Sea, with their long historical associations, are left screen. And to the right, almost parallel, lie the Red Sea and the Gulf of Suez. The Earth's limb, or boundary layer of red and blue above the atmosphere, was the subject of another experiment. Reduced to a gray scale by filters, these photographs will be studied with a microdensitometer to determine the excess elevation of the blue limb above the red as an aid in space navigation. The experiments were conducted throughout the entire mission, and all were completed. On the second day, as Gemini 4 came within range of Hawaii, it set a new American space record. Everyone was pretty casual.
Also would like to congratulate the new American space flight record. Congratulations.
Roger, we got quite a few more to go.
People went to work and returned home. In many parts of the country, it was already summer. With the weekend coming up, the cars were heading for the beach. The mission of Gemini, to live and work in space for 4 days, went on. Food has been planned as a working man's ration. 4 meals a day, 2,600 calories. Laid out on a table, it looks a little different from a regular meal. Plastic packages with bite-sized meals or freeze-dried food to be reconstituted with water. But it was good, solid, everyday fare. Meat, salmon, chocolate pudding, chicken, potato soup. After the first day, the astronauts ate the prescribed 4 meals a day. They would come down with only a portion of the last meal left. But sleep in space required an initial adjustment by the crew. It was somewhat like sleeping out under field conditions. Each astronaut showed individual patterns of response to the new environment, and White seemed to sleep more restfully than McDivitt. During the final 2 days of the mission, Command Pilot McDivitt took a series of formal and informal motion picture shots with a 16mm camera mounted at the pilot's window. The camera turns inward. For a brief moment, we are able to ride tourist class with Gemini 4, watching the crew at work. We catch a glimpse of a space sunrise, flaring in brilliant color over the Earth's horizon. Using the same camera, McDivitt photographed ground objects, including this small island in the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast. On another occasion, he photographed approaches to Yuma, Arizona. The detail seen here shows great promise for scientific exploration of the Earth, heretofore impossible. Using this technique, we could chart the major currents of the ocean, study weather patterns, and map the geology of the Earth. Shortly after the new shift came into mission control on the 4th day, the first spacecraft problem arose. The computer did not function.
Be advised that even when I turn off the computer operates, which I still have a malfunction light on.
We'll work on it. We'll give you an answer when we get one.
The malfunction was pinpointed in the 49th revolution. When it did not clear up, Mission Director Christopher Kraft made a decision. Gemini 4 would go to a rolling re-entry. He immediately queried the command pilot.
Hey, Gemini 4, what is your feelings on a rolling re-entry versus a 90-degree bank angle? We're recommending rolling here.
Yeah, get the job done, so why don't we go ahead with it?
The 60th revolution, the 4th day, and the computer out, but no problem. The flight surgeons made their final checks. Both men were busy stowing equipment. Now it was the 62nd revolution, coming up on Hawaii. The orbital attitude and maneuver thrusters were fired to assure orbital decay and re-entry if the retrograde rockets did not fire. Now television and radio were back again. A nation paused on a Monday morning, waiting to fly in with the crew of Gemini 4.
Give him an 8-minute mark to retrofire.
Gemini 4, Hawaii, stand by for an 8-minute mark to retrofire. 2, 1, mark. Mark.
Gemini 4 would fly the same type of re-entry as Gemini 2, an earlier unmanned flight. We will illustrate the re-entry of McDivitt with film from that flight. This is an onboard camera, Gemini 2, looking through the spacecraft window. The film is reproduced at 4 times normal speed.
Feeling great. How about you?
Gemini 4, Houston, Capcom.
Oh,
Roger, you started your rolling re-entry? Roger. Your weather is still very good, Jim.
Communications with the ground break off, but the onboard tape recorder is running. We listen to 2 men returning to Earth after 4 days in space.
Look at us. We're making some fire, too.
Yep, we're putting our ionization layer out. They're not reading us anymore now, brother. There goes Florida. Is that Florida? I believe this. See it on your side?